The views expressed are not necessarily those of KSCJ and Powell Broadcasting Company. This program is not intended to replace the advice of doctors or other clinical providers. Consult with your practitioner to ensure the proper course of action for you.
Welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well on AM 1360, FM 94.9 KSCJ. This program is dedicated to your mental health wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Here's your host, Art Silva.
Good morning and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well. This show is all about your mental wellness and how you can help yourself navigate the daily highway of life. Our show is brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency serving the Siouxland community. Today, our topic is athletes and mental wellness. Joining me today from Family Services is Chief Operating Officer Brenda Geisinger and Family Services friend, good friend, best buddy, Justin Barker, otherwise known as JB, the Sports Director at KSCJ. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Well, with today's topic, we're going to count on JB and some of your expertise because here we are talking about athletes in a different mode. Come to light with athletes coming public with some of their mental wellness issues. And it'll be interesting. I know you know a lot about that following the athletes, and Brenda will keep our head on straight. We're going to check up on the neck up and describe some of these symptoms in the second half of the hour. So with that, going back in time, I look at all the way back to Jimmy Pearsall. And Jimmy Pearsall, for those who don't know, was an outfielder with the Boston Red Sox. And he suffered from mental illness, and he did some kind of, it was viewed as clownish, but he did some kind of foolish things on the field, and he really had a tough going with it. There was a movie made of his problem called Fear Strikes Out. So that was the first that I came across way back when, aware of it, but people seem to be able to deal with it, still play the ball game, and continued on. Just more recently, and I think you take a look at in football, we saw this a while ago, and you want to share any of your feelings on this, JB?
Yeah, I think what we see is athletes are under such a microscope that I think we're only going to see more of it in the era of social media, the way that it is, in that there are really no secrets in these athletes' lives. They don't get a chance to turn that switch off, and they have to be out in the public eye all the time. I wonder out loud how Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, guys like that would perform in today's game knowing that every move is under watch. Some of the things that Jordan and Barkley and those guys did away from the court, think of Dennis Rodman in this era of social media, the way that it is. So it's kind of been in the background for a long time. Now it's being pushed to the forefront because these athletes aren't afraid to say something and aren't afraid to come out, because the first thing that they get after a game they struggle or a missed field goal or a strikeout in the ninth is boo-hoo-hoo you. Well, there might be something else there. So it's nice to see the athletes come out and say, here's what's going on. I got to fix it.
You think they don't hear the fans?
They hear the fans.
They hear you down there. You know, let's talk about, I'm going back in time in football, Ricky Williams. He kind of came out and has some issues, but Ricky Williams was really the first one to kind of throw it out there in everybody's face, like, yeah, I got some issues I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with it maybe not in the way that you think I should, but I got some issues here.
Yeah, he did all of his interviews with his helmet on. He had a dark visor in front of his eyes because eye contact was something that he struggled with. Social anxiety was something that he clearly struggled with. Yeah, and so it was, but at the time where mental wellness wasn't as in the forefront as it is today, everybody just thought he's a wackadoodle and he's got some serious problems. He's self-destructing his own life and career, and that really wasn't the case. But I think as we talk about this today, I think one of the things we have to go back to is I see my son is a freshman football player at a high school here in town, and I see the way that some parents treat their children and treat the performance and treat every mistake they make on the field, shouting from the sidelines after the game, not telling them good game, not giving them a hug. If they make a mistake, it's magnified. So it starts way back, in my opinion, in the middle school and the high school ranks, the pressure being put on these kids. I paid for you to travel. You should get a scholarship. You should be the best player on this team. Your coach doesn't know what they're talking about. And that whole structure has changed because even when I grew up, I'm only 40 years old, but every coach in high school was coach. They deserved respect because they were a coach. Now mom and dad are saying, no, you need to listen to me, and you need to do what I say, and your coach is secondary. So all of that respect is different. The way that the athlete performs is different. And the way that some parents treat their kids, I hate watching it, to be honest with you.
Well, it makes you ask the question, and you brought it up earlier, JB. What about guys like Jordan and Bird and Johnson? How did they overcome this? And we hear this term often in sports. You got that mental toughness. You got to have that mental toughness. Well, at 12 years old, mental toughness is a lot different. And I think it's something that you develop over time with good coaching and great support. That gives you the mental toughness you need. It's not like anything else we do in the field in mental wellness. We look at support from people around us. We look at routine. And out of that comes the coping skills, I think, that help you deal with the mental toughness you're trying to bring on. Brenda, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely accurate of how do you get better, but also maintain your mental wellness. And it's that support, that structure, the routine, and then also knowing it's okay to not be your best some days and acknowledging that and learning from it and moving forward. And the pressure that athletes have, whether you're young or on a professional level, is very overwhelming to perform, to be spot on and doing what the best you can. And if you can't, that sense of failure and what do you do with that? And everybody looking at you and commenting. And that can just crush a person. They really can.
You know, you're listening to When Things Aren't Going Well, and with me today is Brenda Geisinger and JB from KSCJ, and we're talking about athletes and mental wellness. In the more recent future, looking at the leagues of coming forward with help for their athletes, I think the NBA is pretty much at the top of their game in this area. I'll go back to DeRozan with the Spurs and Love with the Cavaliers. Kevin Love, he found peace by opening up about panic attacks. Nothing haunts us like the things we don't say. That is a Kevin Love quote. And he would talk about going into the locker room during a game and having a panic attack where he would put his finger down his throat to get some air. And he never said anything about it, went out and played, but the other players and the coaches start to notice this. So he was really the first one that came out. Now, did you view him as damaged goods, or can this guy still play? JB?
He can absolutely still play, but he went through a couple of seasons where it makes you wonder, and it kind of makes you sad in the fact that when he was with the Timberwolves, he struggled. He came in as a very high draft pick out of UCLA and had to go, and I see this in a lot of draft picks in all sports, Art and Brenda, is that these guys come in, if you're a very high draft pick in the NBA or the NFL, you're probably coming off a very successful program where you don't know how to lose. And then all of a sudden, Cincinnati or Miami, or in Kevin Love's case, the Timberwolves choose you, and they're winning 20 games out of 82 a season. And so your whole mental makeup of being an athlete and being competitive has changed. And so those things have to weigh heavy on you. And Kevin Love did go to Cleveland, did win a championship with LeBron, did perform pretty well. And then everybody kind of wondered, where did he go? What happened? His performance fell off. Everything fell off. So you kind of wish he would have said something a lot earlier, but him coming out and saying something like that, I think is very important for especially the young kids that have to learn that new culture, have to learn how to lose with dignity, have to learn how to lose with respect. It's not an easy thing to do.
Well, I got to tell you, when you look at Kevin Love present-day NBA, and the other comparison being Stephen Curry. Look at those two ball players. Now, you think Curry thinks anything about throwing up those half-yard bombs, from the parking lot. He just is out there like cold water, and he makes it look easy. But I would have to think he has a method and or a routine that he gets up that helps him fight these things off, these evil. Could be a great support system. It could just be the way he was brought up. He came from a strong family. His dad was a ball player.
Well, okay, that was the next comment I was going to make. You look at Patrick Mahomes and Steph Curry and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., they grew up in that environment of being in the locker room with dad, of being at the game with dad, of being at the stadium and feeling that. So it's second nature to them. But Obviously, that's not a situation where every kid can walk into and just know. Mahomes has done just about everything right that you would want a young quarterback to do. He's had success. He's bought into his community, gives back to his community a lot. He volunteers. His wife volunteers with him. But that's that upbringing of being a child of a major sports professional. And if you don't have that, all of a sudden you're rich. All of a sudden every eye in whatever the sport is on you because you're a high draft pick. You're expected to perform all the time and well. And obviously it's tough to deal with. I mean, even look at Texas high school football. If you want to throw out another example, look at how they look at football there. Look at kids that play in the Cape Cod League in college.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're expected to be the best all the time. They don't necessarily have that support system that gives them the confidence to do it. And that's where these issues come up.
We're coming up on our break, so you continue your morning chill. We'll be right back here with more When Things Aren't Going Well right here on 1360 KSCJ.
Let's face it, that happens to all of us. However, the pandemic has compounded all of our lives and activities. Even the simplest tasks seem harder. Hi, I'm Brenda Geisinger, the Chief Operating Officer at the Boys and Girls Home and Family Services. Family Services is a United Way partner agency serving children and families of our community, and we're here to help. If you'd like to learn more about Family Services, please contact us via email, website, Facebook, or phone Mary Pickens. At Family Services, we change lives.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well on KSCJ. Here's Art Silva.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well. During the first half of our show, we discussed athletes going public with their mental health issues. Let's talk about more in detail of the issues listed by these athletes, and we're going to use Brenda's expertise. And most recently, Simone Biles in the Olympics, she decided not to, I should say, participate in certain events. And she said that when she came public with it, she was battling depression. She said she felt like everything she was doing was for somebody else. So, and she's getting depressed by that. Brenda, from your clinical perspective, can you add to that?
I think depression is pretty prevalent with a lot of people, and some people are very good at masking it. And I think there's also the misperception or conception that depression is just being sad. And it's really more than that. It's a feeling of lost. Everything's just kind of gray. What's my purpose? And letting people down or just not fitting in. And how do you cope with that? And some people will say, well, just get over it, or just, put on a positive attitude and you'll be fine. But it's really more than that. And it's a lot of self-negative talking that you have to work through. Sometimes people may need medication to help with that because they have a chemical imbalance. And it's really seeking out the help and being open with yourself and what's going on and recognizing I am struggling. And then working through that, whether it's getting an appointment with a therapist or a medical professional, what is going to help you? And it's okay. As Simone said, it's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay. That's so true. JB, your thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely right that people do try to mask it and they try to work through in their head, yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm just having a bad day. But then it kind of snowballs and continues, and then everything around you becomes dark, I think. You have that dark cloud in your mind every day. That's probably the best way I could describe it, is that you're just not thinking like you. You maybe wear a smile around every day and you try to perform every day, or you put on a false performance every day. And if those things are starting to happen, I think that's where you really need to take a look. Say, maybe there is something else here. Maybe I need to look at something.
You could have bad days. You could have bad games, but we normally can bounce back from that with the skills. But some folks, it's overwhelming. And I think Brenda touched on it when she said, it's not just feeling slow. You don't feel right. It's just not feeling bad. You don't feel right.
I think the other piece, a lot of times, people that are in the public light, they feel almost embarrassed or ashamed. I should be okay. I have all this going for me. I have all this talent and wealth and popularity, and For me to say I'm not doing good, people are going to wonder what's going on. And it's okay to say I am really, really struggling here. And no one is going to be immune to this. It can happen to anybody.
I think we're getting wise to that. I noticed that in Oregon, they give kids mental health days off. Mm-hmm. There are times you just need, hey, coach, I need a timeout. Boom. Give me a timeout. I need a timeout. That's all. And there's a tremendous amount of pressure that these athletes go through. It's a glorious life. But like JB said earlier, hey, all of a sudden you're 20 years old, you wake up, you got $1 million plus. And, you don't think that's pressure? And you got all kind of people trying to enter your life and give you advice. And maybe you realize you're getting some bad advice going through. Depression will only slow you down. So can you function with it? Yeah, absolutely. And we find those skills that help you to get by. But the goal has to be the end all. I want to be up. I want to be at my best all the time. I don't want anything slowing me down. And I'm going to fix this problem. So that's pretty much on depression. Now let's flip over to, we talked on a little on anxiety already. Panic attack. We hear a lot about panic attacks, and to me that's foreign. I don't know much about a panic attack, but when people tell me they had one, I go, oh, okay.
Panic attacks can really be exhibited different ways or experienced different ways by different people. Some people may just feel, shut down and everything's just like, pure panic, fight or flight kind of feeling inside of them, and they just can't function. Others overdo and want to overperform, and they're just making mistakes left and right, and they just are spinning kind of out of control. And it's this fear of not doing what you need to do to your best ability, and you just get stuck and want to shut down. Athletes may just want to go in the locker room and don't talk to me and, really be shaking. So again, everybody can experience it differently. It can get triggered by different things. But when you get a panic attack, you are frozen. What do I do?
That's really interesting. Just something come over and just takes complete control of you. And you're just stuck. You're just in that stuck period. JB?
Yeah, and I think to expand on that a little bit, I think when you perform on a daily basis or weekly or whatever it may be, there's a difference between nerves and panic. And if you have that little pit in your stomach before you turn the microphone on or before you step out onto the floor, and then you start to perform and that goes away, then that's a good nervous. I have that before I do a game, every game. I've told myself for a long time that if that little sense of nerves before the game ever goes away, then I shouldn't be doing the game. Because as soon as I turn the microphone on, I'm good to go. I just wanted to get it started and going. So there's a difference in the way that you can feel and the way that you approach your routines of the day between nervousness and panic attacks that I think a lot of people maybe don't know the difference or maybe haven't been able to differentiate that in their head of this is something more than that. I'm about to break down. I'm about to stop. That's not good. That's where you need to speak out.
When I was a young girl, I played the piano all the time, and I would play for choirs and accompany them. And one time I was having to do that, and I had a panic attack. And all of a sudden, literally, I could not read the music. And I had played the piano for 15 years. And I'm looking at this music, and it was like a foreign language, and I froze. I literally I had to leave. And that it just happened. It overcame me.
It's real. It is absolutely real, and it happens. And I was listening to an excerpt yesterday on a musician, and he was talking about every tour. One night, I don't know what song it is. I forget the words.
Yeah.
And he said, I forget the words, and my drummer starts mouthing it, and I catch right back up. But it just happens. That little computer in the top of our heads really governs everything we do. So when the computer needs a checkup from the neck up, please get some help. And I think getting rid of that stigma is so important. It's okay to get some help and get yourself working at full speed. Now, one of the things that the professional clubs are doing and have been doing for a while is introducing yoga into their training camps. And at first I thought it was like a ballet kind of deal. They did ballet too. But the yoga is really coming on strong in the mental wellness field. And there's been a lot of success stories with athletes out there with yoga. Brenda, anything you want to contribute to that?
I think yoga is really focusing on connecting your mind with your body and bringing it together and learning how to calm down, be present in the moment, and really feeling everything as a whole connecting process. I mentioned last week, I think, you may not know all the poses, the downward dog or the praying mantis or whatever they're all called.
Oh, lotus position.
Yes. But that's okay. It's really about teaching you how to breathe and really feel everything that's going on and to relax and de-stress.
Well, we're stretching. We're going to venture out, family services. We're going to venture out into the yoga business, and we have Breathe, the yoga studio, and maybe the challenge would be to get Charles Barkley to come in. Charles, you hear me out there? We'll give you free yoga lessons. Come on in and be our role model. But it works. So if you're interested in yoga at all, please give Mary Pickens a call at 293-4700 or PickensM at bghome.net. And she'll tell you all about our program coming up, a brand new studio. We're going to kick this thing off very shortly. So if you're interested, please give us a call. Well, this time always flies by, and we're coming up on the end of our show, and I want to take this opportunity to do our joke of the week. We tell you that humor is medicine for the soul. So this week, here's our joke. If a train station is where a train stops, and a bus station is where a bus stops, what is a workstation? Okay.
I'll take that one.
We'll move on from that. Okay. Well, Brenda and JB, thank you very, very much for today. Appreciate your help in joining us. I want to thank our listening audience. A shout out to Clausen Nursery for the great job they did at the Family Services grand opening. When things aren't going well, we'll be back next Saturday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 1360 KSCJ. Your homework this week is to go out and have a good laugh. May the sun shine on you. Peace.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Happy trails to you.